С такого небольшого вступления позвольте, я уже передам нашему сегодняшнему гостю и спикеру, и, как я надеюсь, участнику будущему нашего сообщества. Для тех, кто к нам сегодня впервые присоединился, добро пожаловать на площадку Samarkand Tourism Forum. Очень хочется надеяться, что вы будете с нами и в дальнейшем, поэтому присоединяйтесь на наши ресурсы.
Thank you very much. A very good day to all of you. I know the majority of people on the call are in Uzbekistan, but I think we also have a few people calling in from elsewhere in the world, and it is great to see that Samarkand Tourism Forum is going into. So in 2019, last year, 1.5 billion international tourists took overnight trips around the world. 6.7 million of these came to Uzbekistan, and that's an increase on the previous years, but it means Uzbekistan still is only attracting 0.5% of all of the global tourists. We have in Uzbekistan 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We have thousands of years of rich culture and history. We have very warm hospitality. We have a visa-free regime for most nationalities, a very strong tourism record in safety, and the flight connections are getting better every year. And what I think this means is Uzbekistan should have many, many more tourists than it is actually attracting. We have a very, very small number, and we deserve to have many, many more. And the challenge for all of us, whether we are working in public sector or private sector in tourism, is to make sure that Uzbekistan's tourism product is the best that it can possibly be, and that we work together to be much more competitive, and that we appeal to a greater proportion of global tourists and capture a larger market share. It's impossible for us to bring all 1.5 billion international tourists to Uzbekistan, and it is not something that is desirable, because not all of those tourists will want Uzbekistan, and we will not want all of them. Some of them, for example, will only want to go to the seaside, to go to a beach destination, and Uzbekistan cannot offer that. Some of them will want casinos, or they will only want to go and see specific things like Disneyland or the Eiffel Tower, or to go to New York and see the Statue of Liberty. Uzbekistan cannot offer those things to those tourists. So what is important is that we try and identify who our tourists are and what we can do to bring them to Uzbekistan. What this means is that if we want to increase our market share and the number of tourists who come to Uzbekistan, we have to be very clear about how we define our audience. We have to get to know their needs, their interests, and how to reach them. And we have to market our destinations, the products and services to them in a very strategic way. This is called market segmentation, and it requires research and careful thinking, but it doesn't have to be an expensive exercise, and it's something all of us can do.
Yeah.
There are lots of benefits to market segmentation, and I have put some of them on the screen here. They include being able to create a stronger marketing message, being able to differentiate our brand and our destination from its competitors, identifying niche market opportunities, and attracting and converting high quality sales leads. And when we work tactically, we can not only increase the number of tourists who come to Uzbekistan, but more importantly, we can increase the number of high value tourists, people who will not only make a significant economic contribution to Uzbekistan through their tourism, but who will also appreciate and enrich the culture of the country, people who will build social and professional relationships with the people who they meet, and also tourists who, when they return home, will be very enthusiastic brand ambassadors for. So there are 4 main different ways that we can use to segment or divide the tourism market. And the technique which you choose to use will depend on lots of different factors, including your aims and objectives, the kind of data and information that you have available, how much time you have, etc. The four types that I'm going to talk about today are demographic, psychographic, behavioural and geographic segmentation. And these may sound like very big and intimidating words, but actually they describe quite simple concepts. So I'm going to talk you through each of them. So with demographic segmentation, the first kind I'm going to talk about, this refers to factual statistical information about a population. And this might include people's age, their gender, where they live, their family situation, what sort of education they have, and how much money they earn. And if you're working in tourism, whether you're working in a hotel or whether you work for a tour operator, it's likely that you already have quite a lot of this information about the tourists you have, because it's the information that they write on a booking or a check-in form that you can get from their passport copies, and indeed through surveying.
Yeah.
If you've got a good online presence, you'll also be able to access a lot of this data. So your Facebook page, for example, has got an insights function. And from that, you can get the demographic information about your fans, your followers, and the people who interact with your posts. And the insights function in Facebook will tell you in detail about the age and gender of your followers, where they live, and the languages that they use. And this is particularly useful because they will give it to you in graph form, so it's very easy to visualize the information. Google Analytics has a similar free software which you can install on your website as a plugin, and it will give you similar information about the people who visit your website. It can tell you also not only their demographic information, but how they find the site, which pages they look at, how long they spend browsing, and it will give you very detailed information about who is using your website and what they are interested in looking at. The example that I'm going to show you here is the Facebook Insights for the Visit Uzbekistan magazine page. And what you can see immediately from the bar graph at the top of the page is that more men than women read Visit Uzbekistan's Facebook page, and the majority of people who are interacting with the page and its posts are aged 25 to 44. If you then look at the information, the tables below, it shows you that the majority of the people reading and interacting with the page are from Uzbekistan, and they live in Tashkent. The information which is on this page, the demographic segmentation information, is very useful for our product development and also for our marketing decisions. And if I was Visit Uzbekistan magazine, I would look at this page and see the concentration of interest amongst men aged 25 to 44 in Tashkent. And I could decide that these are the people that I want to market to. These are obviously the people who are most interested in what I have to say. They are most engaged with my product and my marketing. And if I am going to host events in Tashkent, if I am going to have campaigns, marketing campaigns targeted at that group, if I'm going to have partner advertising with restaurants, with shops, hotels in Tashkent, it would be a very good idea for me to target my products specifically at these people because we know they already have an interest. However, if Visit Uzbekistan magazine wants to reach foreign tourists and encourage them to come to Uzbekistan, we use this information very differently, because what we can see is actually at the moment, the majority of the people using and engaging the page are living in Tashkent already. They are not our international market. And that means that Visit Uzbekistan has to make a decision. Are they going to cater to people who are already interested in their product in Tashkent and Uzbekistan? Or are they going to change their product, change their marketing style to reach more of the international potential tourists that they want to attract to the country? And you can see in the list of countries on the left, there is after Uzbekistan, which is obviously the most reached country, we have Japan, Italy, Pakistan, Romania, Russia, India, United Kingdom, Germany. And so these might be, when we're writing our international strategy, the countries which we target first, because there is already a small number of people there interested, and it may be that we can grow those markets, but at the same time tweaking our product and our marketing message specifically to appeal to them. I know with Visit Uzbekistan magazine, actually they have already started on a strategy to increase their appeal to international readers, international followers. And so if we looked at this graph again in 6 months or 12 months time, it would probably look quite different. And what I want to sort of summarize with this is there is no point in our creating products or undertaking marketing activities unless they appeal to and reach the target market you are actually trying to convert into becoming your customers. The next segment after the demographic segment is psychographic segment, and this is about factors relating to personality and characteristics of our audience and our customers. It is much more subjective than the demographic segmentation because we're interested in things like personality traits, values, beliefs, interests, lifestyle, motivation and priorities. And these aren't things that you can get a yes or no or a tick box answer from on a form. they are qualitative, not quantitative, but they help us understand the sorts of things people might be interested in and why. One of the products that we have started promoting much more actively in Uzbekistan, for example, is ziara tourism, which is a form of religious tourism, a form of pilgrimage tourism, where people come to visit historic sites of cultural relevance to their faith. In Uzbekistan, the majority of the ziara tourism is targeted at Muslim tourists, as it is believed they will be the group most interested in the Islamic shrines of important figures like Imam Bukhari and Bahuddin Naqshbandi. We could use demographic segmentation to identify a target market of solely Muslim people, but that doesn't go far enough, because not all the people who define themselves as Muslim practice their faith or would necessarily be interested in coming on pilgrimage to Uzbekistan. Sunni and Shia Muslims might have different beliefs and different practices, and they follow different imams and saints. So it therefore becomes necessary and relevant to profile what kind of Muslim somebody is, what kind of Muslim is going to be interested in visiting Uzbekistan. We might ask ourselves questions like, what do they value? What sort of lifestyle do they have? What would motivate them to consider visiting Uzbekistan as opposed to a different country with a strong Islamic heritage? We'd also have to ask, is visiting an Islamic destination actually important to them? Or are they going to prioritize other factors like the quality of hotels, the ability to speak the language, or the choice to fly with a particular airline? So we can start our market segmentation with demographic segmentation and identify the group which is Muslim, but then we can...
Пожалуйста, микрофон, участники дорогие, у кого-то микрофон. Мы не слышим сами себя.
So we use the demographic segmentation to identify the group which is Muslim, but then we would use psychographic segmentation to look into that group in much more detail and to identify which Muslims might be interested in visiting Uzbekistan and why. And this can impact not only our marketing, but also the products that we develop and the services we provide. So knowing, for example, that Uzbekistan is promoting ziara tourism and wants to attract some more orthodox or more conservative Muslims to Uzbekistan, the president has decreed that prayer rooms should be built in airports and railway stations across Uzbekistan. And this would be a tick in the box, a positive thing for any Muslims traveling who might be otherwise concerned that they wouldn't be able to find a quiet place to pray when they needed them. And somebody for whom their religious beliefs and their religious needs are a prerequisite for booking a trip. It will give a certain group of Muslims confidence, but we need to know who that group is and what is going to influence their booking decisions. Similarly, we might understand that a significant proportion of the tourists who might want to come to Uzbekistan are vegetarian or vegan. And we know, we start looking at that group using psychographic segmentation, that the availability of vegan and vegetarian food is going to be a high priority for them when they are deciding where to visit. If they don't think that their diet will be catered for, they will not be keen to come to Uzbekistan. And so we need to make sure not only that their needs are met in restaurants that we can physically provide and cater to their diet, but also we can reflect this group's need in our marketing materials. So if, for example, we are doing a marketing campaign about food and gastronomy tourism in Uzbekistan, if you were marketing to me, you could fill all of the pictures with plov and with kebabs and fantastic meat. But if I was a vegetarian looking at that same advertising campaign, I might see that and think, oh, it's a very meat-heavy diet, there is nothing there for me. And so if we use psychographic segmentation, and we know that the kind of food that is available is going to influence people's decision-making, then we make sure that when we are doing our food advertising campaign, that we include a variety of foods, including vegan and vegetarian food, so that that audience feels, yes, this is the kind of destinations I can go, where my needs will be met and where I can be very well fed.
Sophie, one moment, I will check with the audience, okay?
Okay.
Друзья, ну, как в целом понятно, вот я понимаю, там может быть разный уровень английского, специальная терминология, но мне кажется, что вот эти примеры и красочные фото, они прекрасно дают, да, нам понимание, о чем речь. То есть, если, например, речь шла до этого там о привлечении, например, мусульманских туристов, да, то вот сегментация это как бы, что не все мусульмане мира являются потенциальными туристами для Узбекистана, а именно как бы вопрос, вот, да, должен быть, какие мусульмане, вот which Muslims, да, задала вопрос такой, да, маркетолог Софи. То есть вот мы как бы тут должны именно какие-то для себя прямо сейчас конкретные инструменты брать. Вот сейчас спикер дает реально очень хорошие практические советы, да. Опять-таки, если речь идет там о психографических каких-то, да, формулировках, то вот маркет, это самое, food, да, то есть еда, но именно как бы какая, да, какая еда кому может быть интересна, и под это что-то там затачивать. То есть если все-таки там приезжают мусульманские туристы, да, то где-то там должны быть специальные вот эти facilities, да, ну, комнаты для моления, там, в гостиницах, да, как во многих странах мы видим, стрелочки, да, указывающие на Мекку и так далее. Если это, например, привлечение, да, каких-то фуд-туристов, обязательно должны быть как бы вегетарианские, да, блюда, и, ну и вот так. Okay, Sophie, yeah.
Okay, I'm talking a lot, so I'm trying to go through briefly. The third section is the behavioral segmentation. And this isn't about who people are or what they think, but about what they do. And it looks at our purchasing and our spending habits, the status, the social status of the customer, and how they interact with different brands. In tourism, I would use behavioral segmentation to identify potential tourists based on their previous travel habits. I might start by asking my current guests where they have been on holiday before and where they hope to visit in the future. And if you ask these questions often enough, what you will find is that many of the answers appear again and again from different people.
Sophie, if I ask you a question, when you say I have to ask my guest, what do you mean? Do you mean like, for instance, if we look for some statistical data in social media, in Facebook, so I have to check where my potential guests were before? Where these people were before, and choose those ones who were in like similar specific, similar destinations, yes? Like,
yeah, I mean, first of all, what I would do is ask your current tourists, because you already have tourists visiting. And okay. Maybe when you are having a cup of tea, having coffee, you're getting to know people. And I would say to them, okay, where did you go before? Where are you interested in going in the future? Because you want to get to know about them and about their behavior. And if you speak to foreign tourists who are visiting in Uzbekistan, often they will say to you, oh, last year on my holiday, I went to Georgia and to Azerbaijan. Or last year I went on holiday to India. And if you ask them about where they want to go in the future, maybe they will tell you, I would like to go to Iran, or I would like to go to Kashmir. And what you find is actually that the same countries come up over and over again, because the kind of people who are interested in the history, the culture, the landscape of Uzbekistan are interested in a group of maybe 12 countries in total. And the same type of people go to the same type of places. And we can use that information. And you can do it if you do not have tourists to talk to, you can do it in other ways. So for example, if you look at a travel magazine, which is featuring Uzbekistan as a destination, you can look at the other stories that they publish, because they know my readers are interested in Uzbekistan. They are probably also the same readers who are interested in Kyrgyzstan, who are interested in Armenia. And so if you look at the magazine, or if you look at the website of an international tour operator who offers Uzbekistan as a destination. In fact, I've got a screen here. So this is a screenshot from the website of Travel the Unknown, which is a tour operator in the UK. They offer Uzbekistan as a destination. This is the list on their website of the other countries that they offer. And so we can see there are countries in Central Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, a small number of countries in Europe, and a small number in Africa and Latin America. But most of them are Eastern Europe, Caucasus, Middle East, Central Asia. Those are their most popular destinations. And this is very, very important, because if I know that tourists who go to Georgia and go to Iran or go to Nepal are the same kinds of tourists who are likely to be interested in visiting Uzbekistan, I can use that information in my sales and my marketing strategy. I can look to form business-to-business relationships with tour operators who offer those other destinations but don't yet offer Uzbekistan. I can say to them, I know your customers will be interested in Uzbekistan because they are interested in Georgia, they are interested in Iran, they will be interested in Uzbekistan also. You can take the same approach when you are contacting magazine journalists, newspaper journalists. A journalist who has previously visited Kazakhstan and written a tourism destination article about Kazakhstan will probably be interested in writing about Uzbekistan as well. And the same thing is true when you are doing your marketing campaign, particularly if you are going to use Google advertising or if you are going to use Facebook advertising, because you can specify very accurately not only the geographical location you want people to see your advert, but also their interests. So if I was writing a come to Uzbekistan, heart of the Silk Road advert that I wanted to be seen, I would actually not choose the target market as being people interested in Uzbekistan. I might choose people who are interested in Georgia or people who are interested in tourism in Iran, because then those people who are my potential tourists will see it and think, oh, I hadn't thought about Uzbekistan before, but when I look at it, actually, this is exactly the kind of destination that I want to see. And when you work smartly and strategically like this, you can significantly increase your sales conversion rate because you are not casting your net indiscriminately. I could send an advert to every single one of the 1.5 billion tourists who are traveling every year, and most of them are not interested in Uzbekistan. But if I only send my advert to ones who are interested in places like Uzbekistan, my conversion rate will be much, much higher. The last area of segmentation is geographic segmentation. And this is very simple because you divide up your potential market based on their physical location. And it could be a very small location, like the street that they live on, their zip code, or it could be a country or a region. And the reason that this is so important for Uzbekistan is two reasons: flight connectivity and language. If your ideal tourist lives in a place where it is difficult, time-consuming, or expensive to get to Uzbekistan, it is unlikely that they will come. Similarly, if your marketing and sales team cannot speak the language of the potential customer, you will struggle to communicate with them, and they will probably not choose to travel with you. So Uzbekistan is very fortunate being in its geographic position because there is a short flying time to a lot of very important outbound tourism markets, including China, India, Israel, Middle East, and a lot of Europe. And the flights to the regional airport hubs are increasingly frequent, which is bringing down the cost of the tickets on the key routes. And this explains why, in part, Uzbekistan attracts many more visitors from these destinations than, for example, Latin America or Canada or Southern Africa. It's not necessarily that the people who live in Latin America or Canada aren't interested in Uzbekistan, but the logistics and the cost of getting to Uzbekistan means that it is not going to be such a priority for them as going somewhere closer by. And so it's important when you are choosing your target market that you keep this in mind and ask yourself, is it reasonable to expect that a large volume of tourists from the country or region I'm thinking about will actually be able to come to Uzbekistan? We were going to do the workshop element of this session on Zoom breakout rooms. That's actually not going to work for technical reasons. But what I would like you to do is to just spend the next couple of minutes thinking, and if you want to message other people within the group and discuss it with them, you can do. I'd like you to think about three things. So first of all, choose yourself a tourism product. And it could be a hotel that you know well. It could be a city or a region of Uzbekistan, a tourist attraction like, I don't know, the Registan or the palace in Kokand, or it could be a particular activity like hiking, archaeology, bird watching, shopping. It doesn't matter what it is, so you only spend 30 seconds choosing what your product is. I then want you to think, as the second thing, who is the ideal tourist for this product? And think about how you might define them using the kinds of segmentation that we've been talking about. So with your ideal tourist, are they a man or a woman? Are they single? Are they with a family? Are they high earning, low earning? Are they somebody who has strong religious beliefs, someone who has strong cultural beliefs? Is it somebody who is where are they living physically? I mean, think about the different areas of segmentation we've been talking about, and come up with a very brief idea of who your ideal tourist is. And then the third question, and this is arguably the most important, is taking the tourism products that you have come up with, how would you improve it or market it to make it absolutely perfect for your ideal tourist? And you can be as ambitious as you like. This is just an intellectual exercise. So if, for example, it would require having direct flights or a 5-star hotel or specialist equipment or guides, whatever it is that you would need to add to the tourism product to make it a perfect match for your ideal tourist, I'd like you to think about that as well. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to think about these 3 things. And then after that, I would like a few volunteers to tell the rest of the group which product you chose, who you think the ideal tourist for it is, and what you would improve about the product to make it a...
Hey, first come, first serve, it was Aziza Shafkatova. Aziza, okay, yes. You can on your video and at least audio. Aziza?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Well, as a touristic product, I would like to give an example of Ichan-Kala. As I'm from Khorazm, where the Ichan-Kala is situated, I have taken part in different kinds of research related to tourism this year, and I found one thing. Well, the ideal tourist for my product, I mean Ichan-Kala, is mostly adults and elderly. Ichan-Kala is not a place for youth for now. Maybe we can add something after a while. However, I can suggest that in order to improve my product, I would like to remove all the markets that sell different kinds of souvenirs and other stuff from the location, from the infrastructure of Ichan-Kala, because I have noticed so many tourists disliking that. They say it's damaging the view of whole city. And then I can also suggest to input more cultural events into the daily life of Ichan-Kala, so that we can improve it and attract more and more people. And of course, through advertising, through internet.
I think that's a really good suggestion, and particularly with somewhere like the Ichan-Kala, where there is a relatively short tourist season. There are very, very few tourists who come to Ichan-Kala in the winter. And if you had a cultural event in November or in February, yes, it would be cold, but you could then promote that event and encourage people to come out of season. So rather than everybody coming in the summer and it being very, very busy, then you have the opportunity to develop and promote the Ichan-Kala in the winter and to encourage some of the tourists you want to attract to come then.
But I'm afraid, Sophie, your recommendation is about the same segment, the existing segment, but in different seasons, yeah?
Yeah.
But as I remember, Aziza mentioned that she's interested in attracting new segments, new age segments, because it's like the main problem of Uzbekistan is it's aged people, yeah. But everybody is everybody who is trying to develop something new is thinking about how to attract younger people. Yeah, am I right, Aziza, in the formulation of your question?
I was actually suggesting about the improvement of the condition for adults and elderly, which are the most majority of the tourists nowadays.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was wrong in understanding. Yeah, because I understood you want to attract different.
Sometimes you do want to attract a new market and add them to the one that you already have. Sometimes you want to improve the product for your existing market so that you have more of people like that. And it may be, for whatever reason, that the kind of product that Ichan-Kala is just isn't of interest to children and teenagers. I'm not saying that's the case, but it could be that it is not something they're interested in which case it is a good idea to concentrate on the older people who are definitely interested in it, and to increase the number of older people who are coming, because you know that they will have a very good experience and it will be what they want.
Second volunteer, Islam. Are you with us, Islam?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you, Sophie? Good
Hello,
afternoon.
how are you?
Nice to see you again.
You too.
I hope all of the members and the participants are in good health, and I wish you all of you good luck, and wish you be very hectic with lots of tourists very soon. We are so bored with this pandemic.
Thank you, Islam. And next volunteers, please also introduce yourself, okay? Your business in 2 words.
Yeah, I'm from private sector, Mr. Michael. So I am also a freelance guide, and also I'm a founder of travel company named Akbar Travel. So I have 3 examples. I'm from Khorizm region.
Oh, also great.
Active Khorizms. So I would like to bring some of my personal experiences from my personal. In the last few years, we have actually succeeded in organizing some of the tours to RLC. For example, I'm giving the answer or example coming due to the workshop. So we have chosen a special tourism product, as you mentioned earlier, the different categories. So this RLC is mostly approaches to the ecotourism, or to some extent it is. Can you hear my voice well?
Yeah.
Or to some extent it can be another type of extreme tourism. So as you know, the itinerary of RLC, it's mostly includes the nature, the ecological elements. So firstly, we have developed a special itinerary, something around 3-4 days for the tourists. And the ideal tourist, the second question, if we approach to the second question, the ideal tourist for this product can be the ones who are mostly interested in nature, in experiencing any of the moment of the tour by themselves. So like the people who are mostly fond of visiting different places and having extreme trips during their tour. So this kind of product cannot be interesting or kind of attractive for the ones who are mostly interested in kind of cultural tourism. So they don't like, we cannot make them the same as the ones who prefer seeing ornaments, learning something from the architecture. So they mostly approach to this. So the third question, how would you improve or market this product? So now after, I'd like to give an example before and after this pandemic, because so many things will be changed or will change exactly after this pandemic, and the tourism is not exceptional. So before that pandemic, we were mostly doing online marketing, like in digital marketing. So this was one of the most useful and less budget requiring type of marketing categories because we have tried some of the TV marketing, some of the newspaper marketing. They were not so much effective. I can bring some examples if you want, but
I will just make one suggestion, and that is, when you are doing your digital marketing for your RLC tour, make sure you have done your market segmentation first and your research. Yes. I think it will be very important to define the age profile for your guests, yes, because to go to the RLC is physically quite challenging.
Yes.
And we know that the roads are more difficult. We know the hotels are not so good. We know maybe you have to do camping. And so in terms of the age profile, I think probably you are looking at people who are 18 to 45. I am not going to say to my mother is a very keen traveler. She's been many times to Uzbekistan, but I would probably not recommend that you advertise to her to come on your RLC tour, because she will not want to sleep in a tent and she will not want to go on long, bad journeys. But if you are marketing to my brother, for example, he is somebody who would be much more interested in doing that kind of trip rather than one is just cultural. So think about the age profile of your tourists about their physical fitness as well as their interests, and then start thinking about the countries that they are coming from. Because there are some countries, particularly in Western Europe, but not entirely, where there are very, very fast growing interest in adventure tourism and in ecotourism. And so if you have your target your adverts, for example, at Germany, at Netherlands, at UK, at Scandinavian countries, we already know that there are a large number of tourists from those countries who are interested in the adventure and ecotourism products. And so it would be very sensible when you are doing your digital marketing and your advertising to focus on those countries rather than perhaps Portugal or Spain or somewhere which does not have the same volume of adventure tourists to appeal to.
Okay, and may I also put a penny, but in Russian, okay, Sophie? So I want to be sure that everybody is is with us on this topic. Друзья, вот это Ислом, во-первых, огромное спасибо, потому что вы досконально как бы разобрали, да, так сказать, ситуацию, да, вот со своим продуктом. И вот тут сразу есть те вещи, вот, где стоит как бы улучшить свои же, ну, свое же знание, вот это и понятие сегмент, это умение работать с сегментами. Вот если вы не против, Ислам, я на вашем же примере разберу. Вот смотрите, как вы начали, да, вы начали, как бы рассказали нам, что вы сейчас выбрали, не знаю, это главный для вас продукт или какой-то будущий продукт, но вы начали говорить о экспедициях на Аральское море. И вы нам объяснили, что это очень специфичный продукт, который очень как бы для ограниченного количества вообще в принципе людей, да, подходит, но зато это нишевый продукт, да, его очень трудно заменить. Вот что хорошо, что он представляет из себя нишу. Его там не заменишь простой экскурсией где-нибудь там, не знаю, вокруг Хивы, да. Нет, вот кто хочет на Аральское море, он поедет. И в то же время, когда вы заговорили о каналах, ну вот этой как бы каналах продвижения, да, вы сказали, что вы как бы собираетесь, вот вы как бы только использовали диджитал, да, вот эти каналы, а теперь вы собираетесь еще попробовать другие каналы. Конечно, попробовать никто не мешает, но и это всегда хорошо. Но все-таки, мне кажется, что и София это отметила, вот смотрите, вы говорите, например, что очень много людей в Европе все еще читает газеты. Ну вот кто читает газеты и журналы? Скорее всего, это как бы взрослые люди, пожилые. А как Софи только что отметила, она свою маму вам не отдаст, вашу экспедицию, да, ни за что. Она вот сама поедет, но маму свою к вам не посадит. Значит, вот что такое сегментация? Сегментация – это точно понять свой продукт, потом понять своего потребителя и потом как раз начать усиленно использовать именно те каналы, по которым можно конкретно до этого потребителя достучаться. А как раз-таки ваш потребитель – это не просто 100% диджитал, это 150% диджитал, потому что вы еще там должны вот через все вот эти аналитические инструменты найти тех, кто вот такие суперактивные и любят экспедиции. Да? Пусть они до этого совершали экспедиции где-нибудь там в пустыне Сахаре, в пустыне Гоби, может, в Латинской Америке, но это вот именно экспедиционщики. Да? У них есть свои сайты, свои тусовки, свои сообщества, свои, может быть, они журналы даже, да, действительно читают.
Да, есть такие, были, да, такие.
Говорите тогда вот о тех журналах, ну, наверное, это будет, конечно, дорогое удовольствие, там, например, рекламу повесить, но, с другой стороны, вы можете принять каких-то репортеров или блогеров, и они бесплатно напишут, да, ну, вам придется там какие-то расходы понести. Ну, вот так вот на одном примере мы, как бы, да, немножко более расширенно, что правильные вопросы задавать себе поможет нам заточить и прежде всего заточить свой продукт и сократить свои расходы. А я должен уже к следующему. Next volunteer is Dinara.
Oh. We'll talk to Dinara quickly and then we will move on to the question and answer so we have some time.
You mean everybody knows Dinara's case, yeah?
Everybody is happy to speak to Dinara.
Dinara, are you
Thank you.
Hi, Dinara.
Yes, thank you. Hello. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Mikhail. It's really great initiative. And I see a lot of useful insights. And on the example of my magazine, I would like, first of all, I just introduce myself. I'm Dinara Dultaeva, founder of Visit Uzbekistan magazine and also Visit Uzbekistan Partnership Business Club together with Sophie. And also our main target audience is, in terms of the monetization of this book, is more B2B audience, because then they can spread our magazines and share with customers. But now we are also thinking about targeting B2C segment when we want to communicate and engage more with those people who are interested in coming to Uzbekistan. And with this regard, I see three instruments from a discussion which we which Sophie shared a very useful idea. So 3 instruments would be that when I do digital marketing my product, Visit Uzbekistan, as a magazine and as a website, our partnership as well, I would now think about targeting people who are in Georgia, in Iran, and so on, just targeting the topical area. And this, I think, very useful, because this is something which we would not expect before. And second, in this B2C targeting is, I also agree that media has the print media in Europe and in other parts of the world are quite still powerful, and engaging and having some collaboration in exchanges or just featuring some articles from our magazine or preparing special projects with other media outlets. It can be also very good way of marketing our product. And the third one, I think collaboration and celebrity engagement is a trending thing, especially in digital, Instagram, and there's video bloggers and all that collaborative projects, when we might engage, or we can ask some famous influencers and trendsetters in the media, so they can feature our magazine and the country and the topics which we are supporting in our project, and as a brand as well. I think that can be useful. And also right now we're thinking about some branded product, starting from napkins and up to some high-end gifts with a label of Uzbekistan, which is very universal, and it doesn't have to be only associated with our brand, but in general with the image of Uzbekistan. So these are some ideas which I've got, and thank you once again for very structured and very insightful presentation.
Я еще бы хотел, да, вот тоже такие интересные у нас примеры. То есть, получается, Динара перечислила очень много своих как бы задумок, планов, да, но вот получается, что касается сегментации, это был как бы ее план, она сейчас работает в основном в сегменте B2B, то есть распространяет свой журнал через каких-то там партнеров, да, посольства, авиакомпании, какие-то, да, там, наверное, другие организации, но, значит, Динара хочет, чтобы ее, хотя в результате все равно Динара же вас читает B2C, получается, читает же не организация, читает... Да. Конкретный человек, да, какой-то, но распространяется...
Да, но монетизация приходит через организацию.
Все,
да.
Понятно, вам платят, ваши журналы не покупают, ну, как бы сами люди, туристы, там, я не знаю, граждане,
да.
Там, покупают ваши журналы, оплачивают какие-то организации и потом распространяют их бесплатно, да? Значит,
да,
получается, вы хотите, ваш переход в B2C что подразумевает? Что вы хотите сделать такой контент, чтобы ваш журнал покупали и физики, да, вот юрики и физики, да, разделим.
Вот здесь не покупали, здесь будет просто расширение физических, да, лиц, то есть мы сейчас запускаем веб-сайт, мы запускаем, получается, цифровые новые инструменты, и также бизнес-клуб у нас есть, вот, то есть если мы фокусируемся на веб-сайте, то мы за счет расширения аудитории мы сможем новые монетизации за счет, опять же, увеличения рекламодателей. То есть мы будем продавать, в итоге будем продавать аудиторию, опять же, B2B. Но вот эту аудиторию можно открыть, чтобы было, чтобы как бы капитализация бренда, что ли, усиливалась, чтобы сам бренд усиливался, да?
Ну, понятно, охват. В общем, как бы в охвате вы делаете акцент на B2C, и получается, вот вы сказали, что вы еще хотите как бы привлечь уже теперь читателей из таких стран, как Грузия, вы еще сказали, кажется, Иран или Азербайджан, да?
Не, мне очень понравилось то, что София отметила, что когда мы в Гугле, например, даем рекламу, мы не должны только таргетировать тех, кто уже интересуется Узбекистаном, а мы должны таргетировать более широкую аудиторию, которая, например, хочет поехать в Грузию, хочет поехать там в Иран или уже была в Иране, да, соответственно, мы им предлагаем в их цепочке интересов показать еще другую страну, Узбекистан. То есть вот это мне показалось очень ценным, то, чем она поделилась, что действительно же до этого думали, что у человека в сознании должен быть образ Узбекистана, а она дает более широкую аудиторию, что даже те, кто еще в Узбекистане серьезно не задумывался, им можно подсказать, а кто эти люди? Это те, кто поехал в Азербайджан, например, в Грузию или планету.
Так вот, вы собираетесь, например, неважно, там, используя инструменты социальных сетях, находить тех, кто, например, недавно побывал в Азербайджане, и что вы будете им предлагать? Как бы купить ваш журнал или электронную версию получить?
Нет,
да?
просто читать, читать сайт,
да?
информацию. То есть, по большому счету, мы будем продавать им Узбекистан, как там Бог даст дальше монетизацию. Вот. И третье, вот то, что селебрити. И мы это видим, что это очень сильно дает как бы сейчас резонанс.
Динара, с селебрити тут все понятно, да, тут везде одинаково во всем мире работает, вот, как бы, да, то есть, если селебрити порекомендовал, все, это понятный инструмент, а вот хочется разобраться вот в таких, где вроде бы все немножко там учились чему-нибудь и как-нибудь, как Facebook рекламу настроить или там на СММчика полагается, но вот тут нам надо намного глубже самим становиться действительно вот этими таргетологами, да, маркетологами, потому что иначе у нас вряд ли за наши деньги мы получим результат. Я вот, знаете, последний по вашему, что еще хочу, допустим, вот вы, получается, будете сейчас, найдете через Facebook и approach them, да, вот этих вот, допустим, тех, кто побывал на Кавказе. Но вы собираетесь ли изменить и контент свой? То есть, например, добавить больше контента, теперь уже, например, по шелковому пути, добавить как бы какие-то там статьи, материалы, связь между, например, там шелковым путем, который там, ну или странами, которые там, допустим, Закавказье и Средней Азии. То есть каким-то образом через контент все-таки подвести своего вот этого потенциального, ну, читателя к тому, чтобы он в результате в Узбекистан и приехал, да, потому что цель же такая получается.
Да, это очень хорошая идея. Во-первых, Центральную Азию давать как целый маршрут, да, и, конечно, вот шелковый путь. И еще сейчас мы наблюдаем очень хороший тренд, интерес к искусству и наследию, да, то есть когда мы говорим, например, там о том же, там, я не знаю, об архитектуре, да, она там в Иране и, допустим, в Самарканде где-то есть перекличка, да, то есть если сказать, что там майолика, она существует в таких-то странах, и там, чтобы поглубже ее изучить, посмотрите на Узбекистан, да, или, например, боху-шик сейчас вот в интерьере очень большой тренд, где используются сюзанне, там, и всякие такие аутентичные, да, предметы, соответственно, он большим трендом является в Бразилии, там, и Латинской Америке, но если сказать, а вообще откуда тенденция Сюзанне появилась, и вот там есть корни в Узбекистане, то я думаю, что все люди, которые этим интересуются, где бы они ни находились, для них вдруг на карте появится страна, куда они приедут за вот этим исследованием, так сказать, и расширением горизонтов.
Динара, я вынужден вас прервать, потому что идея понятна, это шикарный пример того, как вот вы опять-таки свой продукт, получается, улучшаете, improve your product сделали, да? Ну, планируете, неважно, может, эта идея вам только что пришла, значит, вы уже как бы, как предприниматель, я уверен, завтра уже начнете ее реализовывать. То есть, получается, что вот, если на этом примере, вот, допустим, у нас здесь есть туроператоры, да, вот туроператорам тоже, значит, надо, скорее всего, сейчас больше акцента делать, ну, не просто на продвижение вот своих туров, например, экспедиций на Аральское море для ислама, а еще и, Ислам об этом, кстати, тоже упомянул у нас, еще и сделать как бы больше акцента, да, вот, например, все равно на культуру, на вот эти какие-то там arts and crafts. Хотя Ислам сам предположил, что их мало все это интересует, скорее всего, им только надо вот на джипах, да по пустыне, да, там, да куда подальше, да по экстремальной. Но, скорее всего, как бы, да, вот этот общий фон той дополнительной информации, но эксклюзивной, которую вы будете, например, там, доносить до своих потенциальных потребителей, он тоже будет работать, в общем-то, на то, чтобы в результате они все равно...
И знаете, Arts and Crafts, он именно в таком разрезе должен быть как experience-based, потому что людям очень нравится пойти там, попробовать что-то самим полепить.
Да, то есть еще не просто
потому что это усиливает.
Купить в Италии, как Азиза говорила, да, а вот пойти там где-то увидеть, как это все производится.
Yeah. But I think what we do know is that tourism after COVID is going to look quite different. There are going to be a smaller volume of tourists traveling because there are lots of people who traveled before who now will be very nervous about traveling because of their health, particularly older tourists. And this is a problem for a country like Uzbekistan, where most of the tourists, foreign tourists who come are older people. They will be more nervous and they may not be able to get travel insurance. So the numbers of those people will reduce. We will also find that the number of budget travelers, the people who travel on a cheap flight and go backpacking, is reduced because a lot of those people will have lost their jobs. We are going to have international recession. And so people will have lots less money for traveling. And if they do have some money spare, maybe they will be thinking about saving it because they are concerned what is happening with the economy. So the volume of tourists are going to reduce. Destinations are going to have to be much more aware about their health, their hygiene, their safety. because those are going to be the primary concerns for tourists. And so that means all destinations, Uzbekistan, but all around the world, are going to have to improve the quality of their hygiene and their services to give people confidence that it is safe. There are two areas of infrastructure which I think also countries are going to have to address. One is their hospital and their healthcare provision, because tourists are more likely to choose destinations where they know if they get sick, there is good hospital care locally, and so they do not have to worry about that. And they are also going to be prioritizing destinations with good flight connections, because what we have found in the early part of the pandemic is that airlines stopped flying, or in some cases went bankrupt. And if there was only one or two airlines flying to your destination, or they were not flying regularly, lots of people got stuck, they couldn't get home. And even now in Europe this week, we have a problem that the UK Foreign Office has changed its travel advice for British tourists in Europe. Everybody is trying to get home quickly, but there are not enough flights, there are not enough ferries. And so people are going to be stuck in their destination, unable to get home when they want to. So I think people are going to be much more cautious about that, and will want to travel to places where they know if there is a problem, they are likely to be able to get home easily.
Yes, at least I think, Dinara, I have an idea for your journal that you can add safety and safe and health page, I don't know, chapter in the journal, and inform visitors about good hospitals all around the trip in Uzbekistan, and maybe some contacts. So never before tourism journals, tourism magazines included such an information, yes, but now it's a good time. And also about flights, I have heard that people will prefer direct flights destinations. They will be more afraid of different junctions, yes, and stopovers, but destinations with direct flights will have more opportunities to attract. And Sophie, next question. I think it's quite serious question. It's a question from Yerkin Tikenov, our friend, a friend of our community from Kazakhstan. And the question is there evidence that Muslim strategy works and people interested in Muslim heritage sites in Uzbekistan? Good question, Yerkin. I also have this question.
I think it's a specific niche. Obviously, there is a very large Muslim population, and some of them will be interested in visiting Uzbekistan's Muslim sites. And it's a case of packaging the product and marketing it to the right people. Actually, for me, I see it as zero tourism, as a product like any other. We could think about wildlife tourism, bird watching. We could think about archaeology. There are always going to be niche tourism products which will appeal to a relatively small market, but we do not need massive volumes of tourists in Uzbekistan. We need the right tourists for the right product, and preferably people who will spend a good high sum of money to have that experience. We know that with some Muslims, obviously Imam Bukhari is hugely important in their heritage because of the hadiths that he collected. And so there will be a significant number of Muslims who are interested in learning about Imam Bukhari and seeing where he lived and worked. The same with the shrine of the Naqshbandi shrine in Bukhara. When I was there last year, when I took the plane from London, there was a very large group of British Muslims from Birmingham on the same flight as me, and they were followers of the Naqshbandi sect, and they were going to Uzbekistan specifically to go to Bukhara, to go to the Naqshbandi shrine, and to visit other religious sites in Uzbekistan, because they wanted to learn about the connection with their religious history. So there is a market there. How big it is, I don't know, because we haven't done any detailed market research. This is something which perhaps Uzbek tourism can look into in the future, is to do some more market research to assess the volume, the size of the market. But there is a market there, which Uzbekistan can capitalize on. I would say with the religious tourism as well, it's not just about Muslim tourists. I know, for example, from Israel, there are quite a lot of Israeli tourists who are interested in coming to Bukhara because of the Jewish heritage of the city, because there are, I think for 2,000 years or more, there has been a Jewish community there. And there are a lot of Bukharan Jews who have emigrated to Israel. And therefore, there are people there now, perhaps whose parents or grandparents emigrated, who are interested to come back and to learn about the Jewish identity of Uzbekistan, because that is where their family comes from. So I think there is opportunities for Muslim religious tourism, for Jewish religious tourism, and for other groups as well. There was a very interesting article published a couple of weeks ago about a Indian family from Mumbai who came to learn about the Zoroastrian history of Uzbekistan, because they were Parsis, they are followers of Zoroastrianism in India, but they knew that historically their family came from Uzbekistan, so they wanted to come and learn about the Zoroastrian history. So there are aspects there that we can certainly develop more for tourism.
So thank you so much. I think your two examples are better than 1,000 words and researchers. So those people who were traveling with you on the plane, I love this information that it's British Muslims visiting Uzbekistan with a certain religious purpose to visit Naqshbandi place. Yeah. So that this is very good news for Uzbekistan, that Muslims from rich countries are also arriving. Yeah. Because of course we have some flow from neighboring countries, from Asian countries, but those who are coming with religious purpose from European capitals, yes, this is very, very good news for. So it is a chance for us to upgrade like.
Yeah, and I mean there are a number of international tour companies which specifically do religious tourism. So there is, for example, there is a company in UK called Halal Travels. And their entire market is British Muslims who want to travel abroad and to know that they can have a tour which is compatible with their religion. So they know, for example, that whenever they go on a halal travels tour, they will be able to get halal food. They will not be staying or eating in places where there is alcohol. They will be able to find places for prayer time, etc., etc.
Yeah, but this is already about details about tour product, but we are about segment itself now.
Yes.
Sophie, thank you. We have next question. Next question is from Alla Perisolova. I think most famous Silk Road lady in the world, the former ex-director of Silk Road program of UNWTO. Alla asks, could you kindly explain more your line in brackets, convert and attract high quality sales leads in relation to Uzbekistan?
So a sales lead is somebody who is a potential customer.
But yeah, about convert. So I think Alla knows what sales lead means, but what do you mean by converting?
Not every sales lead will become a sale. There may be, if for example, I have an advert about my tour, 100 people may see it, 50 people may phone up or send me an email to say they are interested. They are my sales leads, but not all of them will become customers. And my job is to convert them, to change them so that they go from just being leads, just people who are interested, to becoming people who are actually going to purchase my product or my sale. And so we use the word convert to basically demonstrate that the person is changing from just being a lead, just being a potential tourist, to becoming an actual customer.
Okay, thank you. Alla, if you are still with us, are you satisfied with answer? I think yes. If Alla has something to say, I think Alla, you can add. But now we have another question from Sanjar. Sanjar, will you ask your question by voice?
Yep.
Yeah, and Alla
says
it's okay. Alla is done. Last question, I think we have now. Sanjar?
Okay. Hello to everyone. Thank you very much, Sophie, for your time and for your webinar. So we talked about many interesting things, but I've got two main questions, and I would like to know your opinion about that. All right. As we see, this pandemic has made a lot of changes in our tourism segments, in our tourism industry, and I would like to ask your opinion. First of all, for me, they're quite problematic that Uzbekistan is not a destination where tourists I would like to come back again. This is first of all. So majority of our tourists comes for one time, so it's a single visit tourist, yeah, as we call it. This is first question. And what are the instruments that we can increase and how we can attract that these tourists would like to come back again and again? So it's revisiting Uzbekistan or Central Asia as a destination in general, right? And the second question would be is, again, according to the pandemic and due to pandemic, I would like to say, what are the instruments for Uzbekistan in particular and Central Asia in general to attract more younger generation? As we know, our main target, our main tourists are people 50, 55 plus. And after the pandemic, these people would be more afraid to travel due to the health risks. And what do you think? Yeah, we know that Central Asia and Uzbekistan in particular has to develop more attractions that will attract more younger generation. But coming out of what we have now, with no nightlife and with very limited entertainment for younger generation, how we can involve and attract more younger generation? Thank you very much, Sophie.
I think, Sanjay, the answer to both of your questions is actually the same, and it's about diversifying Uzbekistan's tourism product. Because at the moment, we still do not have good brand familiarity for Uzbekistan, and the people who do know about Uzbekistan think of one thing, and that is the Silk Road. So part of that is because of the marketing we are doing. We're always saying to people, Uzbekistan, heart of the Silk Road. Uzbekistan is Samarkand. Uzbekistan is Bukhara. And so the majority of people who come on tours to Uzbekistan are the older people who are wanting to learn about the history, the culture, the architecture, and they do a classical Uzbekistan tour where they go to the Silk Road cities, maybe with a couple of days in Tashkent or one night in Ayat. And in order to encourage people to come more than once, we need to demonstrate to them that there is more variety to Uzbekistan than just that. So we say to them, okay, your first trip to Uzbekistan, you did the classical tour of Uzbekistan, you went to the Silk Road cities. When you come back to Uzbekistan, perhaps you are interested in archaeology, in which case we are going to focus on the Khwarezm fortresses. Maybe you're going to go to Temiz and you're going to go to Fayez Tepe and Kempe Tepe and learn about that. Or maybe what you're really interested in is arts and crafts, in which case we're going to do a program focused on the Fergana Valley when you are learning about the ceramics and the silk production. Or perhaps during your first trip to Uzbekistan, you only had the opportunity to see the cities of the country. You have not learned anything about our rural areas. So on your next trip, actually what you should be doing is you should be exploring Kashgardaria and Samarkand. You should be going to national parks, you should be hiking, and perhaps maybe you should come in the winter as well and you should go skiing, because this is something which Uzbekistan really can offer. So I think diversifying the product, making people realize how much Uzbekistan has to offer, can encourage them to come back a second time to see something very, very different and to try something different. You mentioned about the other Central Asian countries as well, and I think that's another way we can do it, is there are a number of people who visit Uzbekistan for 1 week or sometimes even less on a multi-country tour in Central Asia. So the people who have been to Uzbekistan briefly on a Central Asia tour, I would target them and say, actually on your next trip, come back and just come to Uzbekistan. Or vice versa, people who have been just to Uzbekistan say, why don't you come again and do a combined trip to Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, or Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, because you will get something very different out of the trip by seeing different places and being able to compare and contrast Uzbekistan with its neighbors. So I think that will help in terms of repeat visitors, but it's also very important for appealing to the younger demographic, because as we've been saying, the classical Uzbekistan tour is very much geared up to appeal to the people in their 50s and 60s. The pace of the tour is usually slower. The things that they are interested in are maybe not so exciting for younger people. I mean, I think they're very exciting, and I know people very much enjoy their classical tours. But if I am wanting to appeal to younger people, maybe they do not want to spend a lot of time on the coach and going to different architectural sites. So for those younger people, I want to say to them, for example, I know Islam earlier was talking about his Aral Sea tour. I think that's a great product for younger people, particularly if you can combine it with the Stihia Music Festival, which happens in Karakol, Pakistan, and combine it with yurt stays and other activities, maybe some desert trekking. Younger people would probably be much more interested in the mountains and the hiking and the adventure tourism opportunities which Uzbekistan has, particularly in the winter with the skiing and the backcountry skiing. I took a big group of journalists to the Chimgan Mountains in February this year. A little bit of the news coverage has already been in Lonely Planet, but there will be in other magazines as well. And I think that will showcase to a younger audience, because I'm not going to sell a ski tour to Uzbekistan to somebody who is 60. it's highly unlikely. It's going to appeal to somebody who is 25, 35, who wants to come with a group of friends for a week to ski in the day and party in the night. So that is something that we have to bring them back in the winter. And then in the summer to say to those same tourists, you loved Uzbekistan in the winter for skiing, why don't you come back in the summer and we will do some mountaineering, we will do hiking, we will do whitewater rafting, we will do horse riding. Come again, see some more of Uzbekistan in a different season and with a different range of activities.
Yeah, Sophie, thank you. Due to your efforts, I think Uzbekistan will get younger every winter now. Due to your efforts and some infrastructure development, Uzbekistan is getting quite younger in winter time because many people definitely will come for skiing and they will be younger.
Actually, the picture you can see on the screen at the moment is from the trip in February. So we took one day we took the Uzbekistan Airways helicopter up in the Chimgan Mountains and we did the heli skiing. So the helicopter dropped us at the top of the mountain, we skied down to the bottom, then they pick us up again and drop us on a different mountain.
Sophie, questions arriving and arriving. We have to move on. There is another a comment-like question from Abdukadir. I think Abdukadir, partly your question is answered by previous answer, but like second half of your question I will read. As a solution in this pandemic and overall situation, turning Uzbekistan into a destination for rich tourists is also one key to this problem, because price of ticket is also will be increased. What is your opinion?
I think that's very true, and I think that is the approach that most destinations will take. They will recognize that the volume of tourists is lower, and therefore they want to have small numbers of high-paying tourists.
Okay,
Uzbekistan can do that, but what we need to do is to make sure that the quality of the product is very, very high, because Uzbekistan will be competing for those same tourists with lots of other places, including sort of northern India, places like Bhutan, Georgia, all of whom will want to have the high-paying tourists because they will be the bulk of the valuable component of the market. So Uzbekistan is going to have to make sure that the flights that are available are good quality, there is good business class experience, that there are very high quality hotels, not just international hotels, but boutique hotels, eco lodges offering a superior quality of accommodation, that the quality of the food is very, very good in terms of quality of ingredients, but also quality of presentation, quality of hygiene, the variety of food, that the quality of guiding, again, will have to be very, very high, because when people are spending more money, they become much more demanding, and their expectations will be higher. And if Uzbekistan does not meet their expectations, they will give negative feedback, and they will not recommend the destination to others.
Guides, attention please, quality of guiding. I think this is very important because, okay, we are now with you can't change big infrastructure like big hotels. So this is like more governmental level, but what we can do, we have to improve quality of tour product on our level, and guiding is a very, very painful point. But I think we will create something separated about guiding, and Sophie, maybe you will, we will tell something in that panel. But next question, it's really, I think it's marketing question from Fairuza. So what your ideas changed about Uzbekistan after coming and recognizing our homeland, which you don't think before? Tell us, Sophie, one main point, what changed in your personal perception of this place?
Well, I have been coming to Uzbekistan now for more than 10 years. So
after first visit?
After first visit, I think, so my first visit was in 2010. And I think what surprised me was the number of historic buildings that were so well preserved. That I did not expect to see, particularly after I had driven across Kazakhstan, which mostly seemed empty. I came to Uzbekistan and there was so much to see and so much to do. So I think from a marketing point of view, we need to tell people how much Uzbekistan has and why it is different to the other Central Asian republics.
Okay, and I have to start from the end because Yerkin has like third question, but still some. Okay, this is also questions from the same speakers, but okay, let's try to answer two more. Dear speakers, can we make sure that blogging may help to promote tourism? If so, what exactly should we do? The question is from Aziza, our first volunteer. I think it's quite obvious that blogging is doing quite well job even for Uzbekistan within last year. But can you, Sophie, I think you are also yourself a new blogger, yes? Because when I joined your Instagram account, maybe there were like 150 people over there. Now it's much bigger, and you are doing quite well. You are doing constantly. Permanently, very bright presentation of bright pictures. Can you say something from your personal blogging experience?
For marketing Uzbekistan, there are two types of social media that we need to be looking at. One is our own social media, our own blogs, our own Instagram, our own Twitter accounts that we control. And then the other ones are the ones of international influencers, an account like Lonely Planet or some of the big travel bloggers. We have less influence on other people's accounts, although events like the World Influencers Congress, which was held in Uzbekistan last year, were very effective at getting those people to come to Uzbekistan, to write, to take photos, to make video, and to use their platforms to promote Uzbekistan. So we can certainly encourage them to keep doing that. In terms of our own platforms, a lot of it comes back again, I'm saying the same point about segmentation, about knowing our audience, about building an audience and giving them exactly what they want to see, what they are interested in. In terms of blogs and website content, the SEO, the search engine optimization, is very, very important. There are huge numbers of articles and videos about this online, and courses that you can take to improve your search engine optimization. But it's essentially, it comes back to making sure that the information on your website is well processed by Google and the other search engines. So when their software is analyzing your website and deciding where to put it in the search results, it will put it higher on the list. So learning about that and making sure that your website is optimized for search engine searching will also help your marketing, because it means that when people search for visit Uzbekistan or tours in Bukhara or adventure tourism in Samarkand, they will find your site ahead of other people's sites.
Sophie, I think everybody now is aware about SEO, but blogging is still a big question mark for every of us, because everybody understands now that you are in tourism, have to become public person, but how to blog, what to do? Can you say, did you for getting 1,222 followers in Instagram now? I think approximately within half a year you got this number. Did you use only organic ways, or you also attracted through some paying advertisement, or what did you use to get this good number of followers for nano blogger?
I only use organic means for increasing following on social media, because the problem is that if you start buying followers, they are not any use to you. Your followers are only useful if they are actually interested in your product and services, and if they might in the future be customers, or they are going to talk about your product to other people. So buying followers, there is no point in doing it at all, because they are not interested. Some of them do not exist, and therefore they cannot become customers. So you should definitely use organic means. Make sure that you are following similar accounts to yours, that you are liking and commenting other people's posts, because then not only will they see you, but their followers will see you, and the Instagram algorithms will make sure that your account appears higher in search results and more often on people's news feeds, because it is an active account which is engaging with others and contributing positively to the community. The other recommendations I have is making sure that you are posting regularly, so that your followers always have something new to look at, and that the descriptions and hashtags that you use are relevant to your post and to your audience. Don't just tag everything as travel holiday, because you know they are well searched terms. Make them specific to the places and the products.
Competition is also high for such a most popular hashtags, yes?
Yes, it's high, but you will be lost, because there will be somebody who is doing travel in Florida or travel in Paris who is going to drown out your content. Whereas if you have visit Uzbekistan and Central Asia and Silk Road and Bukhara as your search terms, it's going to appear for people who are particularly interested in those subjects.
So organic, organic, and organic. And the very, very last question, and we finish from Yerkin from Kazakhstan. How would you recommend to approach solo travelers and solo women in particular wishing to visit region to find some new experiences? What product might be a point of interest if there are any product really for FIT with specific interests?
So solo travel in Central Asia is actually very, very safe, but people are not aware of that. So I think much more needs to be done on the marketing to emphasize that it is a safe place to travel, because for solo travelers, that is going to be the #1 concern. If I go on my own, am I going to be safe? And actually a safe travel campaign at a tourist board level would be very, very helpful, but also individual companies making sure that on their own websites, there is always a section on safe travel, working with influencers and particularly those on social media who have well-regarded blogs for solo travel, for women's travel, encouraging them to write about Uzbekistan, write about Kazakhstan, to do interviews, question and answer, to do little videos about the topic. So whenever somebody searches, is it safe to solo travel in Uzbekistan? Is it safe to solo travel in Kazakhstan? That they find accurate, helpful information to reassure them that it is going to be safe to travel. In terms of the particular products, there are many solo travelers who choose to completely organize their own trips and book directly with hotels and guest houses and book their own train tickets. But I think increasingly, and particularly after COVID, when people will be more cautious, there will be lots of solo travelers contacting tour operators saying, I'm coming on my own, will you please organize me a tailor-made trip, so that they don't have to worry about the logistics, so that they know that the quality of the accommodation will be good, that the transport will be reliable, etc. And so if I was a tour operator, I think having a section on my website saying we offer personalized trips for solo travelers would be very, very useful. That will help with your SEO, but it will also mean that when people do actually get to the website, they realize that that is an option, because lots of people think that a tour operator will only organize a group tour, or they are only interested in hosting couples. But if you make it very, very clear that actually solo travel is an option and we can arrange it for you, that will certainly help. In terms of what more general products solo travelers are interested in, solo travelers will be interested in the same products as everybody else. There will be solo travelers who want to do the classic Silk Road tour. There will be solo travelers who want to go camping. There will be solo travelers who want to go skiing. And so this is when your market segmentation comes through, is what kind of solo travelers are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach really adventurous outdoor solo travelers? Are you trying to reach women solo travelers who would like some more comfort, who want to stay in 5-star hotels? Or are you looking to appeal to a 18-year-old gap year student from the UK who is coming on his first big trip abroad on his own? His needs and his interests are going to be very different to a solo traveler who is a woman who is 40 years old, for example.
Oh, so last sentence is like a punchline of all our event today, because what kind of solo travelers? Yes, what? So it's again about segmentation. When we are talking about solo travelers, it's too narrow, too wide. Sorry, too wide and not understandable. And it's not a segment, I think, or very wide, very rough segment. Yes, but when we are starting to ask ourselves, first of all, what kind of solo travelers? So I want to have to attract, or they could be interested with my product. So we start to make marketing, and we start to make